Hey everybody, it's Johnny A. Welcome to Studio Sessions. Been getting a lot of fan mail asking me about outboard gear and the way the studio is configured. And let's go right around the gear here. And starting over here is the Big Daddy. It's a compressor. It's a clone of the Big Daddy of all compressors, a Fairchild 670. And this is by a guy, his name is Anthony DeMaria Labs. He makes a compressor called an ADL 670. It's a stereo version of the legendary Fairchild 670. Right here, this is a company called Earthworks, and it's very clean mic pre. There's 4 mic preamps in there. It's great for using for acoustic guitars, room mics, things like that. Below this, we have a speaker emulator. I record direct, as I've told you in previous fan mail things here. You're able to put any amplifier head into this, and basically it gives you a load so you don't have to run speakers, and you can go directly to the console with it and get the sound of a speaker cabinet without having a speaker cabinet. These are 4 compressors, and it's by a company called Empirical Labs. They're called Distressors. These ones happen to have the British mods in it. Pretty much a Swiss Army knife of compressors. You can get anything from kind of a vintage sound to very, very aggressive sound. One of my EQ units here is a stereo EQ. It's modeled after a Pultec EQ. This is by a company called Retro, and the model is a 2A3. They make some great stuff, Retro company. They're out on the West Coast. These would be LA3As by a company called Universal Audio. If you play guitar and you want compression, you got to have a couple of those in the studio. Another legendary compressor, I'm sure you've heard of SSL consoles or solid state logic. It's a reproduction of the bus compressor, the main bus compressor of an SSL console. So that replicates that. Lexicon is known for time-based effects, reverbs, delays, and things like that. These 2 pieces are PCM 96s, which is their latest and greatest digital reverb units. These are 2 matched units, again by a company Retro. I like this stuff. The 176 is basically a clone of the original Uri 176 compressor. So we're using Apogee converters. Right now the system is configured as 8 in 24 out. Like I said, we just bought a new console, so we're buying another chassis, and it'll be configured 24 in, 48 out. For sale, because I have the console, are these 2 pieces by Dangerous Audio. And what they are summing mixes, and that allows you to come out of the digital domain, get all your analog summing, and try to bring back all that warmth from analog. For our controllers, we're using Euphonics Avid, and basically these are just like I said, control surfaces allows you to get your levels, your pans, and control what's happening in the DAW, the digital audio workstation. The way this is configured, I have a master controller, which is called an artist control. That gets you all your transport functions and some fader control, as well as a touchscreen to kind of get you into, let you know what's going on everywhere, and you can program that to do a myriad of things. And these are called the artist mixes, and they are basically fader packs, and you can gang them all together. This is not 1 unit, but this is 4 units that are ganged together. Going around to this rack, I'm endorsed by a company called Aviom, and what Aviom does is they do personal monitoring stations. So this is kind of the main kind of brain that distributes to my little mix boxes, which if you can see over there, if you can pan, that blue box, that basically allows everybody to have their own headphone mix and program it the way they want. So if the drummer wants to hear more drums and the bass player wants to hear more bass and I want to hear more guitar, shocker, I can do that. Digital clocking, Antelope right here, because we're in the digital domain with the Symphony and the PCM 96s and a bunch of other things like pods and fractals. We have a master clock, and that's by a company called Antelope, and that's an Isochrone OCX. Again, by the same company that makes this, Dangerous Audio, and it's called the Monitor ST, and this is the remote for this unit. This allows me to switch to different type of speakers, 3 different sets of speakers, program the levels of them so they're all level matched, and additional sources, so I can go from my main mix to a CD player to an iPod to whatever. Master volume for that, left and right speakers, and it's all set up for surround sound too. A lot of guitar processing in here. The top rack piece is by Peterson. It's a strobo rack, and basically it's a tuner. Radial. company that I endorse. That's a JD7. It allows me to plug my guitar into there and then basically split it to up to as many seven different amps or signal paths wherever I want to go. So if I'm feeling good and I feel like I got a performance going on, but I'm not sure what amplifier I want to use or what path I want to use to capture that, I'm able to simultaneously send my signal without losing any kind of impedance or anything like that to up to 7 different sources. Below this is kind of a staple in a studio, especially for recording bass. That's an Avalon U5. It's basically a tube direct box for, you cut a lot of bass through that. This unit here, the gold one, is a Marshall JMP1. It's a tube guitar preamp, and it allows you, it has 4 channels in it, 2 different channels of clean, 2 different channels of distortion, and it's variable, so you can change the parameters on it. And there's another guitar effects processor preamp by a company called Fractal. And that's an Axe Effects, and same thing, it has modeling type of capabilities for you to kind of emulate other amps and other effects and things like that. Pretty deep piece of gear. Same thing as the unit below it, that's by Line 6. Kind of the same principle as the Axe Effects, but they just do it a little differently. And that's a Pod HD Pro. Every studio should have some ultra clean preamps that don't have any coloration at all. This is a twin servo 990, the Sony edition, and it was created by John Hardy for Sony to capture really clean classical music. So it's very, very quiet very, very transparent, very, very clean. This is my main piece. This is my main guitar. All my records is processed through this mic pre. This is an old original Neve model 1058, very rare, one of the blackface modules. I think they made about 90 of them. Okay, below that, a company called Vintech Audio, and what he does is he clones different types of vintage pieces of gear, and right there, those are 2 X73s, which are recreations of Neve 1073 mic preamps, kind of a staple in recording since the 70s. So another mic pre here is by Retro, again, the guy that gave you the 2A3 and the 176s, and this is called a Power Strip recording channel. And he basically tried to recreate a channel strip from the console from that the Beatles recorded Revolver on. It's a tube mic pre, so and it has half of a Pultec 2A3 style EQ in it. Below that, one of my favorite pieces of gear for recording bass, another compressor, tube compressor, again by Retro. This is a recreation of a Gates 1950s Gates stay level compressor, the ultimate bass compressor. Everything sounds like God when you put it through it as far as bass goes. So this Mercury Recording, Dave Marquette, he kind of recreates Telefunken style mic pre's. This is a one-off unit that he made special for me. It's got a recreation of a V72 mic pre and a V76 mic pre. Paul McCartney, Hofner bass, V72 mic pre, Fairchild compressor. So, you know, Paul McCartney's my favorite bass player, so if I can get that anywhere near that sound, I'm happy. So this would be the side I would use for my bass, and then a V76, a little bit tighter sounding, not quite as low end, would use that maybe for guitars and vocals. Below that is a pair of Neve 1081s, another legendary mic pre and a ton of recordings, so great. You can't have a great studio without that for a front end. Down below, George Massenburg, legendary engineer. This is his model 8200 EQ, stereo EQ. Very, very clean, very, very surgical. Allows you to just kind of get in and play with those bands and get rid of those annoying frequencies that you don't like or don't want. My main amplifier for everything is this Marshall 6100 30th anniversary. I have a bunch of those. Every track on both the studio albums were recorded with that amplifier. We're using these V drums every once in a while on tracks, but I've been sticking to Addictive Drums software program for programming the drums right now. So thanks for watching Studio Sessions. My name is Johnny A. Hit us up on Facebook with any questions. That would be facebook.com/johnnya.official. See you.